How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Family Tree Volume 2. This is put out by Image Comics and was written by Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire, you know, for a ton of classics: Black Hammer, Descender, Gideon Falls. Really great writer. And this features art by Phil Hester, Eric Gapstur, and Ryan Cody. Brief, non-super spoily synopsis. At the beginning of this book, this is the one where the girl has, for some reason, started turning into a tree, and the cult is coming after her. Well, in this one, she begins to grow roots, and in turn, she's going to be stuck in one single location. And that's not really good because now she can't move, she's farther in her process, and the cult, when they find her, she's not going to be able to run. You also have Grandpa trying to escape the cult, the arborist, and when he escapes, he has to be careful not to simply lead them to where the granddaughter is. And also we get a few flash forwards to the future when the world is apocalyptic and overrun by green. Overall, I really am enjoying this story. I'm reading through it really fast. This is one of those that you want to be able to read through pretty quick. I think this is only 3 volumes, so I think the next one is the last one, and I have already bought that, so I'll try to be getting to it pretty soon. So yeah, it really does kind of feel like an Act 2, you know? 3-act structure, you know, birth, life, and death. 1 and 3 are always going to be the most interesting, trying to see, you know, where the world's coming from and then how it's going to all collapse. And I really am looking forward to Part 3 and the big epic finale, but this volume really is tying up the setup and then setting up the finale, you know, so this is kind of a transitional volume where we're getting ready for the big end and we're seeing just how the world's going to change. And, you know, you open up this volume with the girl laying down roots and now not being able to move. Part of me wonders if Jeff Lemire thought that the trades were going to have like 5 issues in the first one or something, because to be honest, the end of issue 5 really does feel like a big epic finale, and I read through that, I'm like, wow, that kind of feels like an ending bit, but that's only the first chapter. And then we get essentially a Grandpa solo issue for the one after that, and then we're back to regular issues, so it is kind of, you know, this big epic thing happens, and, you know, I do care about Grandpa and want to see what happens to him, but at the same time, I'm like, you left the granddaughter in that weird place, and now we don't get to see her for a whole issue, too, you know, so there is that, and boy, there is a lot of Grandpa suffering in this issue. Poor guy. He gets his son talking to him through that wooden hand, and it's like, no, Grandpa, or Dad, I guess. No, Dad, you can't go now. You have to get back on your feet. My daughter needs you. Get back up. And boy, you hear that a lot, that the poor guy is so close to the verge of death all throughout this volume, and his son is constantly, get back up again, keep fighting. And you really feel for him. But overall, there is, you know, good revelations, bits of backstory, you know, the son meeting the dad at the bar for the first time in a long time, and those bits to the future are interesting. But that being said, also, with what the cult's saying about how she has to be cut down because she's dangerous, and then we see the future, we can kind of tell where this is going, comparing, you know, what the cult says in the future, and you can kind of get that early on in this book, but at the same time, you don't know the specifics, and you don't know exactly, you know, all the circumstances, you know, so it still is interesting, but you kind of know from the future segments what's going to happen in the past segments. But overall, I still really did enjoy this book, and I thought it was pretty cool, and it's one I am reading through pretty fast. I really am digging, and I can't wait for issue 3, or volume 3 rather. But if volume 3 is the last one, then this is kind of a short story, and I really hope that Image does a collected version. I would really love, you know, a nice hardcover, all 12 issues in one place, because this is only 4 issues again. I would really love a hardcover with all of them in one place so that people can just go and read this all through at once. I think that's probably going to be the best way to read this series, but overall, I really enjoyed this, this book, really enjoyed Volume 2, but if you want to see more of my thoughts in more detail, if you want to see me talk about plot specifics and show you guys some art, no major spoilers, but if you want to do a little bit deeper of a dive, I'm going to jump into the close-up camera. Again, no major spoilers, but more details. So if you want to see more, we're going to go to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle taking a closer look at Family Tree Volume 2. This has a subtitle of Seeds. Anyway, take a closer look. We see the Family Tree logo with the roots or vines climbing up, and this time around it's in pink to match the flower. And we see the flower has a little baby inside of it, sort of the idea of symbolizing plant-based rebirth. Overall, a very, very striking cover here. And the pink continues around the side, and we look at the back, and this is actually taken from a full-page splash from inside the comic, which I thought was nice, and we get to see the mother and daughter and a big tree all grown up here, and it talks about Jeff Lemire, Royal City Descender, Sweet Tooth, and Phil Hester, Shipwreck, and Green Arrow. And if we go to the bottom here, we can see the Image logo, T+, but also $14.99. $14.99 for 4 issues. Oh, okay, price. Yeah, these 4-issue ones, they always get me. They're a little short, you know. It used to be that everything was 6 issues back in the day, and now we're kind of going to 4. You know, it is what it is. Anyway, inside we see the logo with these nice yellow roots, Volume 2 Seeds, and then after that we'll get the credits page, double page with the house and the trees, and we see written by Jeff Lemire with art by Phil Hester, Eric Gapstur, and Ryan Cody. Again, and I mentioned this last time, it doesn't specify who's doing what. I take it from the blurb on the back that Phil Hester is the lead artist, probably doing the pencils, and I guess that would be ink and color, but I'm not sure in which order. I feel it's very odd that the art is very vague. Maybe they are working as a team and dividing up duties pretty evenly. I don't know, but it's weird that the jobs are vague and we don't know who's doing what. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to jump into this volume. I'll be showing you guys a little bit of the story and the art. I'll be avoiding major spoilers, so I'll be avoiding talking about the end bits. But I do want to make sure you guys have a basic understanding of what's going on. I want to say my piece on a few plot points, and of course I really want to show you some of the cool pages. Anyway, without further ado, we open up, we get the chapter breaks. I do love they kept the chapter breaks with the cover, and we get the girl revealing that underneath her face is a tree person's face, and we get a flashback to the mom working as a cashier, and the kids talking about you never really know what's important. She's getting in a fight with her husband, and she's ignoring her daughter, and these are 2 people that she'll probably regret not paying enough attention to earlier. But the kid wanted to show the mom her fort that she built in her room, and while the mom is too busy, we do get this touching moment where Josh shows up, the older brother, and spends some time with his sister playing with toys, which is really nice. And then we jump to on the road. They're driving in the middle of nowhere. The girl is passed out, and everyone's freaking out, and Josh is trying to ask the doctor what kind of doctor exactly she is. Josh and the mom, of course, get in a small fight, and it's interrupted when Josh says, "Mom, look," and they look down at her feet, and she's growing roots. A pretty crazy and disturbing thing, you know. But anyway, the doctor says, "Wait, roots, we've got to pull over," and they stop the car just where they are in the middle of nowhere, and they walk a decent stretch into the woods so as not to be visible, and they lay the girl down on the ground, and then we get the beginning of the end for her transformation. Her roots are going to take hold, and she is going to be planted. So, yeah, it's sort of all wrapping up for her in the transformation story. And this is, like I said, a really big sort of ending climax that it's kind of weird happens so early in this volume. But anyway, after that, we do get the grandpa story in chapter 6, and we get to see the dad show up to his dad and say, "Hey, I need your help with something. I know we haven't seen each other in forever, but I don't want my wife and kids to see me like this, and I have no idea who else to turn to." So he takes him outside and shows him his side, which is starting to grow branches and stuff. And then he says, "Dad, you can't go yet." And he's like, "Wait a minute, this memory is all right up until now. You didn't say that to me the first time." And he's like, "Oh, this isn't a memory anymore. This is me talking to you directly. You need to get up." And then we cut to the cult has been keeping him alive because they need information out of him. They want to know where Megan is going, where the tree is going, and I like him waking up black, and then a crack in the blackness, and then it breaks like glass, and then he's awake in this chair, and they try to get him to talk, and they have the hand, and of course, he's never gonna give up where his granddaughter is, and he escapes in, I think, kind of an interesting way, and some people may find it a little silly, but he says, "Hey, by the way, whenever you tie someone up with one hand, you need to do a better job." So they tied him up, but because he only has one hand, it's hard to, you know, without the wrist, to really have the rope on anything, you know. It's not going to lock on the wrist, so he's just going to slide out of there. And then after that, we get a bunch of grandpa fighting. There's a ton of grandpa fighting in this book. He punches the lead cultist with his nub, and then he elbows this guy. So yeah, man, grandpa goes through a whole lot in this book, and yeah, you really do feel for the guy. But we do get a little bit of Josh grown up in the future, and there's this one guy he's fighting in a hazmat suit, and when he gets a cut in the suit, we see that he explodes into a tree. So I am really wondering, you know, why Josh himself isn't turning into a tree, and maybe it's because, you know, of his DNA or something, or maybe it only affects certain people. I don't know. So I still am curious what's going to happen in the future. But of course, we do get a little bit more of the girl in Tree World, and she's going to talk to this nice old lady, and she's going to find out, but we won't, what the trees want to do, and then she'll, you know, kind of like the dad and his dad, she'll talk to her mom and try to comfort her, and then everything goes crazy. And I don't want to spoil too much farther than that. We, you know, glossed over issues 1 and 2 and just barely touched issue 3 because I wanted to show that tree sequence and a little bit of the future. But, yeah, after that, it goes crazy, and it really does set up the finale. It sets up Act 3, and we see the world is going to be really interesting, you know. So we are going to eventually get to that apocalypse, and I really am curious, what Act 3 is going to do, because we're moving on to pretty big places. But anyway, cool stuff. I really did like it, and I definitely recommend checking the series out. Yeah, it's not as good as Jeff Lemire's best stuff, like Descender and Gideon Falls and stuff, but overall, I really did have a fair bit of fun with this, and if it is only 3 volumes, which I think it is, I really hope they release a collected edition, because I think it's best to just read through them all at once. I have Volume 3 purchased already, and I really am looking forward to digging into that. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Jeff Lemire playlist, where you can find me reviewing Volume 1 of Family Tree, as well as Volume 1 of Descender, Volume 1 of Gideon Falls. I talked about his new hardcover original, The Passageway. That was pretty fun. So if you want to see me talk about more Jeff Lemire, a playlist should pop up on the bottom. And anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.